Hey everybody, here we are, week 19, the second half of Working with Others. I can't even believe that we are this far along. We only have a couple weeks left, so as always, make sure grab your big book, grab a pen, take some notes, and we'll see you next week for week 20. I can't even believe it.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's good to be back. Let's center ourselves with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right, here we are. We're at the second half of Working with Others, and this chapter tells us how to sponsor people and how not to sponsor people. It's an absolute guide to how we carry this message. It talks a lot in here about making the approach. When we make the approach to a sponsee or a candidate, whatever you want to call it, who you're going to carry this message to. So we're on page 96, second full paragraph. And now we're making the approach to the second approach. So we've the first part, what we talked about last week, was when we initially meet this guy. And a lot of this stuff that in this chapter is dated a little bit in the sense that back then, they had to go out and find an alcoholic. They had to go to a hospital or to a church. But, like I say all the time, they're bringing them to us on vans now. You go to any meeting hall around, you're going to see rehab showing up, at least down here in South Florida. So suppose now you're making your second visit to a man or a woman, but it's written in 1939, to a man. He has read this volume and says he is prepared to go through with the 12 steps of the program of recovery. So when I sponsor a guy, it's about taking them through the 12 steps of the program of recovery of Alcoholics Anonymous that creates the change in us. So having had the experience yourself, you can give him much practical advice. So we're not just speaking from a opinion point. We're speaking from practical experience. This is what happened to us. Let him know you're available if he wishes to make a decision and tell his story. So if he wants to go through with steps 3, 4, 5, I'm available for you. But do not insist upon this if he prefers to consult someone else. And nowadays, they do that 4, 5, and 6 with their sponsor. But back then, there weren't sponsors, and you could go to a priest for step 5. You could go to a closed-mouthed friend, it says in here. But don't take it personally if he doesn't want to do it with you, and that applies today. I don't care who he does it with. Just is anyone else is fine. Just go do it. So don't take it personally if he wishes to make a decision and tell a story, but do not insist upon it if he prefers to consult someone else. He may be broke and homeless. If he is, you might try to help him about getting a job or give him a little financial assistance, but you should not deprive your family or creditors of money they should have. Perhaps you will want to take the man into your home for a few days, but be sure to use discretion. Be certain he will be welcomed by your family and that he is not trying to impose upon you for money, connections, or shelter. Permit that and you only harm him. Remember, again, we carry the message, not the alcoholic. So I don't want them to rely on me that much. You will be making it possible for him to be insincere. You may be aiding in his destruction rather than his recovery. Never avoid these responsibilities. Now, so that first part says we're saying don't enable him, right? You may be aiding in his destruction rather than his recovery if we're just enabling him. And then it goes on and says never avoid these responsibilities, and it uses the word responsibilities, all right? These aren't suggestions. These are our marching orders. So nothing's free here, right? It tells us, it gives us this program. We work this program. We recover from alcoholism. We have that spiritual experience and that psychic change and that personality change. And then it tells us to keep that. If you want to hold on to that, here's your marching orders. Now you have to go out and carry this message. Never avoid these responsibilities. Today it's a responsibility for me. I have a responsibility to Alcoholics Anonymous. So never avoid these responsibilities, but be sure you are doing the right things if you assume them. Helping others is the foundation stone of recovery. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You have to act the Good Samaritan every day if need be. So it's just restating here what it says on page 77. We're going to go back there real quick. On 77, it says, our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and to the people about us. And then here it says, helping others is the foundation stone of our recovery. All right, so never avoid these responsibilities, but be sure you're doing the right thing if you assume them. If you're going to assume them, make sure that that you're doing the right thing here and that you have the time to do this. You've got somebody else's life is on the line here. It may mean the loss of many nights' sleep, great interference with your pleasures, interruptions to your business. It may mean sharing your money and your home, counseling frantic wives and relatives, innumerable trips to police courts, sanitariums, hospitals, jails, and asylums. Your telephone may jangle at any time of the day or night. Your wife may sometimes say she is neglected. A drunk may smash the furniture in your home or burn a mattress. You may have to fight with him if he is violent. Sometimes you'll have to call a doctor and administer sedatives under his direction. Another time you may have to send for the police or an ambulance. Occasionally you will have to meet these such conditions. Not so much today, really. I've never had to administer I wouldn't administer sedatives. So this, some of this stuff is dated here. One thing here where it says your telephone may jangle at any time of the day or night. Now, this is just my opinion, but when my phone, the time to call me is not at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're already drunk and you're not hearing a thing. The time to call me is before you pick up that first drink, right? So lots of times, I go to sleep at night, my phone goes off. If you're calling me in the middle of the night, you've already, that's not the time. And that's not that I won't help somebody at that time of night if it's a dire emergency. But, the time to call is before you pick up that drink. We seldom allow an alcoholic to live in our homes for a long time. It is not good for him, and it sometimes creates serious complications in a family. And again, for me, I've never allowed that. But that's a personal thing for me. I'm not, in today's world, things are a lot different back then, but I'm not letting somebody that I just met live in my house. Though an alcoholic does not respond, there's no reason why you should neglect his family. You should continue to be friendly to them. The family should be offered your way of life. Should they accept and practice spiritual principles, there is a much better chance that the head of the family will recover. And even though he continues to drink, the family will find life more bearable. So that's where Al-Anon comes in. So if the family's working these 12 spiritual principles, they're going to find living with the alcoholic a lot more bearable. For the type of alcoholic who is able and willing, this is important because able and willing is the opposite of cannot and will not. And it says in how it works, there are those who are unfortunate, there are such unfortunates they cannot or will not grasp a way of life which demands rigorous honesty. They cannot or will not. This is the exact opposite of that. For the type of alcoholic who is able and willing to get well, little charity in the ordinary sense of the word is needed or wanted. The men who cry for money and shelter before conquering alcohol are on the wrong track. Yet we do go to great extremes to provide each other with these very things when such action is warranted. This may seem inconsistent, but we think it's not. And this is where a recovered alcoholic, where I rely on, I have better instincts today, and sometimes I will loan money to somebody or give money to a sponsee if he, it's a judgment call. It really is. I can tell when someone's just using me to be their banker. If it is not a matter of giving that is in question, but when and how to give. That often makes the difference between failure and success. The minute we put our work on a service plane, the alcoholic commences to rely upon our assistance rather than upon God. He clamors for this or that, claiming he cannot master alcohol until his material needs are cared for. And then Bill W., the next line says, nonsense. And nonsense in 1939 was a powerful word. Today we'd say something else that begins with a B and ends with a T, right? Bull. And that's what it is. That's what that is. If anybody who says, they can't until this is met, I can't until I get my car out, I can't get sober until this, I can't get sober until I secure this job, it's crap. So he clamors for this or that, clamoring he cannot master alcohol until his material needs are cared for. nonsense. Some of us have taken very hard knocks to learn this truth. Job or no job, and this is so important right here. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking so long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of dependence upon God. Burn the idea into the consciousness of every man that he can get well regardless of anyone. The only condition is that he trust in God and clean house. And another one, work with others. That's what the 12th step tells us. Trust God, clean house, and work with others. Now, the domestic problem. There may be divorce, separation, or just strained relations. When your prospect has made such reparation as he can to his family, so he's made the repairs, he's doing this work, he's making amends to the family, and has thoroughly explained to them the new principles by which he is living. This is important. To explain to the family why I'm doing this and why I'm living by these principles. They may not know, and he has to be living in 10, 11, and 12. And the family might have no idea why he has to do all this. So you explain it to them. This is why I'm doing this, right? So they may not, once he has explained to them the new principles by which he is living, he should proceed to put those principles into action in his home. So I explain it to him why I'm doing this, and then I live by these principles in my own home. That is, if he's lucky enough to have a home, right? Though his family be at fault in many respects, he should not be concerned about that. He should concentrate on his own spiritual demonstration. Don't worry about what they've done. I'm concentrating on my own spiritual demonstration in my home. Argument and fault finding are to be avoided like the plague. Argument and fault finding. Well, yeah, but you did this too. Yeah, no, I just know what I did and how I'm living today, and I don't need to be right about that other stuff. In many homes, this is a difficult thing to do, but it must be done if any results are to be expected. People say all the time, there's no musts in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a lot of musts in this book, and here is another one. It must be done. Argument and fault finding must be avoided like the plague. If persisted in for a few months, the effect means the change, so the change on a man's family is sure to be great. So we go home, and if I'm living by these principles and I'm not, and they're maybe getting onto me, and but I'm not arguing and fault finding, I just continue to practice these principles, I'm proving to them that I can stay sober no matter what, because I'm not getting sober for you. I'm getting sober for me. So you say what you want, act how you want. I'm staying sober and I'm practicing these principles, right? So, so the change on a man's family is sure to be great. The most incompatible people discover they have a basis upon which they can meet, and little by little, the family may see their own defects and admit them. So it says little by little. Things take time. Things aren't just better because you got home and you're sober. So things take time, but little by little, the family may see their own defects and admit them. It says may, it doesn't say they will, so don't expect anything here. You're not entering this with an expectation. They may. These can be discussed in an atmosphere of helpfulness and friendliness as opposed to argument and fault finding, right? So once they start to see their own, if they do start to admit where they've been wrong, then this stuff can be addressed and discussed in an atmosphere of helplessness and friendliness instead of arguing and pointing the finger at each other. After they have seen tangible results, so not after telling them what you're doing. It doesn't say after telling them what we're doing. It's after they see tangible results in me. After they see the change and they see how my way of living is affecting the family in a positive way. After they see tangible results, the family will perhaps want to go along. They're not going to want to go along if I'm just telling them how, I found spirituality and yeah, I know I cheated on you and ran around on you for years, but I've got God now and it's going to be better. No, after they see tangible results. After they see tangible results, the family will perhaps want to go along. These things will come to pass naturally and in good time, provided, however, the alcoholic continues to demonstrate that he can be sober, considerate, and helpful, regardless of what anyone says or does. So if they continue to hold everything against us, like I said, we're not doing it for them. So we can be helpful, considerate, loving, regardless of how they're treating me, regardless of whether they're holding this stuff against me. Of course, we will fall much below this. Of course, we will fall much below this standard many times, but we must try to repair the damage immediately. That's steps 9 and 10, lest we pay the penalty by a spree. And I don't believe that they're just talking about a spree of drinking here. I can have a spree of rage. I can pay the penalty of this by them talking to me and by going on a spree of rage. It could be a gambling, womanizing, pornography, overspending. I could go on multiple sprees of alcoholic addictive behavior. It doesn't just have to be drinking, but I can stop living. They can start bothering me and getting to me so much that I stop living spiritually and I start going on, I get rageful, or I start acting out in other ways and going on a spree in that way. If there be divorce or separation, there should be no undue haste for the couple to get together. The man should be sure of his recovery. The wife should fully understand his new way of life. If their old relationship is to be resumed, it must be on a better basis, since the former did not work. This means a new attitude and spirit all around. Sometimes it is to the best interest of all concerned that a couple remain apart. Obviously, no rule can be laid down. Let the alcoholic continue his program day by day. When the time for living together has come, it will be apparent to both parties, and that's a promise. It's when it's God's will, it'll be apparent to both parties. So it's so right here where it says for the couple, it says if there be divorce or separation, there should be no undue haste for the couple to get together. The man should be sure of his recovery. And how do you be sure of your recovery? By working steps 10, 11, and 12 continuously in your life every day. If you're doing that, if you're working steps 10, 11, and 12 every day in your life, then you can be sure of your recovery. I can be sure of my recovery today because I work steps 10, 11, and 12 every day in my life. So, all right, so the next paragraph, let no alcoholic say he cannot recover unless he has his family back. This just isn't so. Again, nonsense, right? In some cases, the wife will never come back for one reason or another. Remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. There is nothing that you can put in front of your recovery here, is what it's telling me. My recovery is not, nothing can come in between that. I can put nothing in front of that. Remind the prospect that his recovery is not dependent upon people. It is dependent upon his relationship with God. So that means it's not dependent upon my spouse. It's not dependent upon my home group. It's not dependent upon my sponsor. It's dependent upon my relationship with God. And that relationship with God is the only relationship this book talks about. It's the only relationship this book mentions is the relationship you have with God. We have seen men get well whose families have not returned at all. We have seen them slip when the family came back too soon. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. Now, these are directions for sponsorship, in the path of spiritual progress. So we're actually walking towards a solution. The path to spiritual progress is those 12 steps, and it says you and the new man must walk together on the path of spiritual progress. That means the 12 steps. I must take him by the hand and walk with him through those 12 steps. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. So we offer a program that takes you from hopeless to a new and wonderful world. That's the program that we offer. It takes you from hopeless to a new and wonderful way of living. When working with a man and his family, you should take care not to participate in their quarrels. You may spoil your chance of being helpful if you do, but urge upon a man's family that he has been a very sick person not bad, not weak, that he's been a sick person and should be treated accordingly. You should warn against arousing jealousy. You should warn against arousing resentment or jealousy. You should point out that his defects of character are not going to disappear overnight. Show them that he has entered upon a period of growth. Ask them to remember, when they are impatient, the blessed fact of his sobriety, that things are definitely better when he's not drinking than when he was. So we remind the family of that, but we do not say this to the alcoholic. We don't give him that out. This is to say, when the family, and I've had families, wives say to me before, well, he's not, this is intolerable still. Well, he's making progress. So, but we don't say it to the alcoholic because he'll use that as a crutch. So this is our job now as a sponsor, is to keep him on that path. That's why we walk it with him. My job as a sponsor is to keep him on that path until I can put his hand in God's hand. So again, my job's not just to encourage the guy, and I see this with a lot of sponsors. It's just encouragement. It's encouragement. That is not my job as a sponsor. Is just to encourage him. My job is to keep him on path and to lay these spiritual kit of tools at his feet for him to pick up, not to work for him, not to do for him, but for him to pick up. If you have been successful in solving your own domestic problems, tell the newcomer's family how that was accomplished. In this way, we can set them on the right track without becoming critical of them. So we tell them how we found peace in our home. Without being critical of their relationship, we can say, well, this is how I found peace in my home through this program. This story of how you and your wife settled your difficulties is worth any amount of criticism. So assuming we are spiritually fit, we can do all sorts of things alcoholics are not supposed to do. People have said we must not go where liquor is served. We must not have it in our homes. We must shun friends who drink. We must avoid moving pictures which show drinking scenes. That's what they called movies back then, moving pictures that show drinking scenes. We must not go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles if we go to their houses. We mustn't think or be reminded about alcohol at all. Our experience shows this is not necessarily true. And remember, we do not guide through advice. We guide through experience. I don't give my sponsees advice. I give them my experience. And I show them their experience. Not just advice. So we can go into bars. Our friends must hide their bottles. If we go to their houses, we mustn't think or be reminded about alcohol. Our experience shows that this is not necessarily so. We meet these conditions every day. An alcoholic who cannot meet them still has an alcoholic mind, which means he's not spiritually fit. That's what the alcoholic mind is. You're not spiritually fit. If you're working 10, 11, and 12 in your life every day, you should be spiritually fit. So if you still have an alcoholic mind, there's something the matter with his spiritual status. His only chance for sobriety would be someplace like the Greenland ice cap, and even there, an Eskimo might turn up with a bottle of scotch and ruin anything or everything. Ask any woman who has sent her husband to distant places on the theory he would escape the alcohol problem. So moving isn't changing a thing. There's a saying in here, wherever you go, there you are, right? You take yourself with you. All right, so in our belief, any scheme of combating alcoholism which proposes to shield the sick man from temptation is doomed to failure. If the alcoholic tries to shield himself, he may succeed for a time, but he usually winds up with a bigger explosion than ever. We have tried these methods. These attempts to do the impossible have always failed. That is our experience. Our practical experience is that shielding a man from alcohol does not work. So our rule is to not avoid a place where there is drinking. So this is what everybody wants to know. Can I go into a bar? Can I not go into a bar? There's two qualifications it's going to tell us here. Okay? So the rule is to not avoid a place where there is drinking if, one, we have a legitimate reason for being there. That's the first qualification, right? That includes bars. They just told us the first qualification, is spiritual fitness. If I'm spiritually fit, if I'm working 10, 11, and 12, and I'm spiritually fit, the other qualification is right here if I have a legitimate reason for being there. That includes bars, nightclubs, dances, receptions, weddings, even plain old whoopee parties. And that's not what you're thinking it is. I had to look this up, Tom. What's a whoopee party, right? Because I thought, might be something a little risque, a whoopee party. But apparently, back in the 1930s, what they called just a regular old party like you would have on a Saturday night, we're having a party. That was called a whoopee party. Whoopee, right? I guess. I thought the whoopee in that meant something else from the 60s, right? But that's not what they're talking about there. Just regular plain old parties. So you can go to a whoopee party if you want. To the person who has had experience with an alcoholic, this may seem like tempting providence, but it isn't. You will note that we made an important qualification, right? 1 and 2, the 2 qualifications. Spiritual fitness and legitimate reason to be there. Therefore, ask yourself on each occasion, have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going to this place? Do I have a good social reason for going to this? Maybe I got friends who want to go into this place and eat. That's fine. There's a good reason to do it. Have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going into this place? That's a good reason to go. Or am I expecting to steal a little vicarious pleasure from the atmosphere of such places? That's a bad reason to go. If you answer these questions satisfactorily, 1 and 2, do I have a good reason for going here, or am I trying to steal something? Am I trying to get something out of this? So if you answer these questions satisfactorily, you need to have no apprehension, and apprehension just means fear. Go or stay away, whichever seems best, but be sure you're on solid spiritual ground before you start, and your motive in going is thoroughly good, completely good. Not like halfway, not like, well, these guys want to go in here, yeah, and also, I'd like to look at the action going on in here. No, thoroughly good. Do not think of what you will get out of the occasion. Think of what you can bring to it. But if you are shaky, you'd better work with another alcoholic instead. So all over the place in this book, it talks about it multiple times. If you're not on solid ground, you better go work with another alcoholic. And here it is again. If you think you're shaky about going, you better go work with another alcoholic instead of walking into that bar with your friends, right? And it also says here, when it says think of what you can bring to it, not what you can get out of it. I think the same way about that at meetings. When I hear people say all the time, they say, oh, I don't like that meeting, or that was a bad meeting. I go into meetings thinking what I can bring to them, not what I can get out of them. It's not like I need a meeting. No, somebody needs me to be at that meeting to share the message of how I recovered. Why sit with a long face in places where there is drinking, sighing about the good old days? If it is a happy occasion, try to increase the pleasure of those there. If it's a business occasion, go and attend to your business enthusiastically. If you're with a person who wants to eat in a bar, by all means, go along. Let your friends know that they are not to change their habits on your account. At a proper time and place, explain to all your friends why alcohol disagrees with you. If you do this thoroughly, few people will ask you to drink. While you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you are getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor. And here I'm going to stop for a minute because often get a question from people, well, what do I say when somebody offers me a drink? And which is entirely up to you. Some people divulge their alcoholism. Some people don't. I don't have any problem with saying I'm an alcoholic. That's just what I prefer. What I never say, and this again is just me, this isn't telling you to do this, this is just my experience. And I've been offered drinks by people that don't know that I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I never say, no, I don't drink. I never say that. Because if I did, that would be the biggest lie I ever told. I do drink. I drink until I'm homeless. I will never say, no, I don't drink. Because I didn't earn that. That makes it sound like I've accomplished some great thing. And I haven't. I've lost that ability to drink. I remember when I was drinking and I'd ask somebody, hey, do you want to drink? And somebody I just met or something, and they'd say, no, I don't drink. I'd be like, oh, wow. Wish I could be like that. That guy's got it together. Right? I think a lot of people feel that way when you feel convicted yourself over your own alcoholism. And you ask somebody, you're out somewhere, and you say, hey, you want a drink? And they go, oh, no, I don't drink. And I'm like, wow, I put them up here, right? I didn't earn that. So I'll never say, no, I don't drink. I'll give them whatever reason, but it's not that. All right, so if they want to go, if you're with a person who wants to eat in a bar, by all means go along. Let your friends know that they are not to change their habits on your account. At the proper time and place, explain to all your friends why alcohol disagrees with you. So even here, it's telling them, explain your alcoholism to them. Don't just say, I don't drink anymore. It says, explain to them why it disagrees with you. If you do this thoroughly, few people will ask you to drink. While you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you are getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor. This is a very important part right here. Alcohol is all around us. It's a social lubricant. It is completely 100% acceptable, and it doesn't make you a bad person. Once I get sober, I cannot act like it does to people. I cannot be intolerant of people who drink alcohol. And I can't expect people to change because of me, because it's my problem, not theirs. So, I don't want people to tiptoe around me because I have a problem with alcohol. So here it goes on. It says, and again, we were withdrawing from life. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to wind up isolating again and being. I want to get back into the swing of life and enjoying life. And that's going to put me in places where people drink alcohol. The beach, the park, the hotel pool. You're not going to escape it. So your job now is to be at the place. So we talk about making the approach. This whole chapter is about how we make the approach and how we sponsor and how we make the approach to a man or a woman to carry this message. And it says here, your job now is to be at the place. So you made the approach to be at the place where you may be of maximum helpfulness to others. So never hesitate to go anywhere if you can be helpful. Never hesitate to make that approach. There's an old saying in the Navy, a ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are for. Today I go where I'm needed, not just where I'm wanted. So never be afraid to make that approach. Never hesitate to go anywhere if you can be helpful. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. So in case we missed it, I'm going to say it again. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. That's the deal. That's the deal. That's the pact that we made when we got sober, is that we're going to carry this. That's part of the 12. That's the 12th step. We're going to carry this message, and we're going to go where we're needed. That's what gives me the purpose in my life today. So you must not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth. Keep on the firing line of life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. And that goes back to page 63. What we read on 63. We had a new employer. Being all-powerful, he provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well. He's given me a purpose. I have to perform his work well, and that's what this is talking about. Again, I'm going to read it one more time because I really think this is important. Our job now is to be at the place where you may be of maximum helpfulness to others. That's my job. So never hesitate to go anywhere if you can be helpful. Don't hesitate to go anywhere if you can be helpful. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. Keep on the firing line of life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. And I believe this to be true. Many of us keep liquor in our homes. We often need it to carry green recruits through a severe hangover. Some of us still serve it to our friends, provided they are not alcoholic. But some of us think we should not serve liquor to anyone. We never argue this question. We feel that each family, in the light of their own circumstances, ought to decide for themselves. So I'm going to go back here again one more time. I'm going to tell you it's obvious that right here, Bill W. does not want us sitting back like we hear so many people do, sitting back and saying, if they want it, they'll come to us. If they want it, they'll come to me. That's not what these guys did. If they wanted enough, they'll come see me after the meeting. No, these guys went after people. They went after the alcoholic to help and said, I'm going to help you. They didn't wait for them to come. They're telling us right here, get off the bench and get in the game, man. Get off the bench and get in the game. Go help someone. They're dying all around us, and we have a message that must be carried to them, and we can help them. We are careful never to show intolerance or hatred of drinking as an institution. Nobody wants to be around that. Experience shows that such an attitude is not helpful to anyone. Every new alcoholic looks for this spirit amongst us and is immensely relieved when he finds we are not witch burners. A spirit of intolerance might repel alcoholics whose lives could have been saved had it not been for such stupidity. Stupidity, they're calling it. And that's pretty strong for them to be saying. We could have helped somebody, but us acting like that, that stupidity runs them out. And here's the thing. If I was like that, look, I'm not going to listen. If you're going to talk to me about alcohol and drugs, you better love alcohol and drugs the way that I do, or I'm not listening to you. If you come at me talking to me about how bad alcohol is and how it, and I don't want to hear that. You better tell me how much you loved them and how much you drank and how much you did, and how great it was for a while. Or I'm just not listening to you. And we're not the same if you don't. So it says we should not, that stupidity, we would not even do the cause of temperate drinking any good, for not one drinker in 1,000 likes to be told anything about alcohol by one who hates it. Someday we hope that Alcoholics Anonymous will help the public to a better realization of the gravity of the alcoholic problem, but we shall be of little use if our attitude is one of bitterness or hostility. Drinkers will not stand for it. And so that attitude I would put in there also includes gossip. Gossip, it's no use to anyone, right? And so it's very important, especially when I'm working with others and other men, that I don't gossip about other people. After all, our problems were of our own making. Bottles were only a symbol. Besides, we have stopped fighting anybody or anything we have to. That's what I got, Tom. That's the end of working with others.